Hello everyone. We're going to go over several documents that you have reviewed within your intro to billing and coding notes. So I need one student to go over to the second counter, the first drawer, and you're going to pull out two handouts. The first one should look like this. It says 2401 Authorization to Release Medical Information. And the second handout should look like this, which is a patient demographic form. So I'll give you a few moments to go and distribute that information amongst everyone. While you're up, there's also a folder holder on top of the small black cabinet underneath the word wall. There are 10 case studies. You can all work together in groups of 2. I believe that there are 11 of you, so there may be one group of 3, and you can work together on this assignment in order for you to understand. And then if you have questions, you can ask one another. But I'm going to walk you through at least one case study together so you'll understand what it is that I'm asking of you. So again, go ahead and pass out both the application, which is this, the patient release packet, and you can either get in groups of 2s, one group of 3, in order for you to evaluate the case study. So again, I'll give you a few moments to get all of that together. Alright, so let's get started. We're going to start with the release documents, and this is going to be a little bit backwards than from what your notes tell you. With a release, I had one student email me asking me to give a little bit more explanation. And a release is a permission slip essentially. You're giving permission for the facility to either communicate to another facility, or you are giving permission to release information to. So in this case, this release form is one that we used to use at one of my old clinics that I worked at. And at the top, you'll see where it says date of first request and date of second request. It's very important that you keep documentation on how many times or if you have to request records more than once. You'll put the name of the doctor, clinic, hospital, or medical center, their address, phone number, and fax, and who, which would be you or the doctor requesting the following information. In this case, I would recommend that, you ask for all medical records, x-rays, medical records, reports, films, and everything, because you don't want to leave anything out and have to go back and ask again. On this form, it shows you where you would ask for the patient's information, date of birth, date of injury. In this incident, you may not have a date of injury because the case studies that I've picked or created for you, there are real conditions, so there's not necessarily a date of injury. The social security number, the signature, and the date. Now, for time's sake, we're just going to use dummy demographics, if you will, in order to complete the patient demographics. So for the date of birth, we're going to use today's date and the year that the patient was born. So based on their age, you'll figure out the year. The social security number will be 123-45-6789, and this will be for all of your patients. Texas driver's license number 12121212. A sample address is going to be 1234 Main Street, Houston, Texas 77049. And the emergency contact address, if different than the spouse, is 2000 Cougar Lane, Houston, Texas 77004. And the insurance information, everybody is going to have United Healthcare, with the group number, the health plan ID, and the member ID. Now, you do not have to rush and try to write any of this down because I will share it with you on Google Classroom once you start to complete your patient application. All right. So let's go ahead. I did not want that. This is not working in my favor right now. This is not being fair. That's what I need right here. All right, hopefully the computer will like me and let me finish. Okay, so you're going to turn over to the back of this, and this is the authorization and consent for care. So it gives at the top in the first paragraph, it gives the explanation of everything that you're agreeing to be treated with or for. In the second paragraph, which I'd like to point out to you, it says Clinic 2401 is authorized to release medical records the provider deems apt regarding my physical state to any insurance group, attorney, or adjuster to aid in compensation of fees incurred. I permit direct payment to be made to Clinic 2401 for any and all services rendered. This is an AOB, an assignment of benefits. It's short and sweet to the point, but the main point that I want you to understand out of this is that it states I permit direct payment to be made to Clinic 2401. And I want you to finish reading the rest of it, the 3 paragraphs. I do also want you to remember that in your notes, there is a section that tells you when the doctor-patient relationship begins. Please remember that because that is a test question. This last statement right here, if the patient is a minor, I authorize treatment and care to be administered as necessary to my child. This is important as well because before you, as a physician, medical professional, you have to get permission from the parent before treatment is rendered without them being present. Once this is completed, the patient will print, sign. If it's a minor, they'll print, sign, and the relationship to the patient. Now, this is another assignment of benefits. It's a little bit longer. It has a little bit more legal jargon in it. And we did use both. We didn't have to, but we did. It just protected us a little bit better when we were dealing with insurance companies and attorneys. So I'll let you take time to read over this because it is long and it does have a lot of things in it that you may not have heard of before. And the other reason that I want you to read over this is because you will be a billing and coding specialist. And sometimes you may serve in a dual capacity that you'll be a receptionist or you'll work the front desk or you'll check patients in. In those capacities, you will still need to know how to explain these documents to patients. And on the flip side, you need to understand them when you are a patient because you will end up filling out documents just like this. And right now you may not. Your parents probably do it for you. But you need to get in the habit of start reading these because there's some things in here that you probably don't even think about. All right. So this is the patient consent to the use and disclosure of health information for treatment, payment, and healthcare operations. This is your disclosure form, your HIPAA. So I blank, which would be the patient's name, understand that as a part of my healthcare Clinic 2401 originates and maintains paper and or electronic records regarding my health history, exam and test results, treatment, and plans for future management. I understand this information serves as a basis for planning my care and treatment, a means of communication among healthcare professionals who contribute to my care, a source of information for applying my diagnosis and surgical information to my bill, a means by which a third-party payer can verify the services billed were provided, and a tool for clinic operations, i.e. assessing quality and competence of medical professionals. It doesn't say anything about someone taking your social security number. It doesn't say anything about disseminating personal information. These are the only things that we're allowed to do for you as a patient. Now, the second paragraph where it says, I understand have been provided with a notice of information practices, that is the same thing as an NPP, a notice of privacy. A notice of privacy practices. I'm sorry. Notice of privacy practices is the same thing as an NIP. So I don't want you to get that confused. But what an NPP is the right to, you do have the right to review the notice before you sign. You have the right to object to use of any of your information for directory purposes, and you have the right to restrict how your records are used or disclosed to carry out treatment, payment, or healthcare options. Now, the catch-22 with this is if you read in the next paragraph, you're not required to agree to the restrictions, and you can revoke this consent at any time. But you have to understand that if you refuse to sign the consent, the clinic can refuse to treat you, and that is a federal law. So again, that is a catch-22, and I want you to understand that although you have a right to not sign it, they have a right not to treat you. Right here, this line, it says, I wish to have the following restrictions to the use or disclosure of my health information. You would then say what you want used and what you don't. And here you would put, I fully understand and accept or decline the terms of this consent. So you would circle accept or deny. Now, this is the kicker. NPPs, notice the privacy practices, they are really long and really little bitty because there's a lot of information in them that you have to disclose to the patient. It's similar to when you're watching TV and you see the fine print on the prescriptions that they cause vomiting, diarrhea, you might die. They have to put that on there. The same thing on the side of a cigarette box, the Surgeon General. It may cause cancer, hair fall out. We have to give you these disclosures. Now, if you choose not to read them, that's not our problem because we told you. And especially if you sign it, then you signed something you didn't read and something that you didn't understand. And then that's really not our problem because this is a legal binding document. So I need you to understand that you should start reading these for yourself, but you also will have to understand how to explain these to patients. So in the first couple of sentences, this notice describes how use disclose health information to aid treatment, collect payment, and for operations, and explains policies for use permitted required by law and your rights to access and control your data. Protected health information, PHI. I know that you've seen that already. It is data about you, demographic data, your past, present, or future health and care. We are required to abide by these terms. We may change terms at any time. New terms are effective for data we presently retain. You may get revisions by requesting a copy. Now the NPP, they can change at any time. Generally, if an NPP is going to change, it's once a year. So if you're still a patient somewhere, you can always ask for the NPP updates, but they don't have to give them to you. But you do need to be aware that they can change without your knowledge. So I want you to read from use disclosure of health information to healthcare operations. And I'll give you some time. You could pause it right here. And when you all have finished reading to that point, I will continue. Now, what I want to draw your attention to is right here. We may disclose PHI to interns that see patients at our clinic. You will be an intern at some point in this course, and you will be privy to information that you would not otherwise be able to see. It says we use a sign-in sheet where you sign your name. Communication between you and the doctor may be recorded to aid in capturing your response. We may call you by name in the waiting room and use PHI to call and remind you of an appointment. We may share PHI with third-party associates that perform activities such as billing and transcription services. A transcription services is a dictation service where generally physicians speak into a microphone or recorder and someone on the other end types the report for them. When an arrangement between our office and an associate involves disclosure of PHI, we have a written consent with the associate containing terms protecting privacy of your PHI. I work at Body Balance Chiropractic and I have to sign a contract with them saying that I will not distribute PHI. We may use PHI for internal marketing. For example, your name and address may be used to send a newsletter about our clinic and services we offer, or send information about products or services that may be beneficial to you. You may request materials not be sent to you. All right. You can read, consent, or chance to object. Under that, this one is important right here. Others involved in your care. Unless you object, we may use disclose PHI to notify family, friends, or other people about your care or death, and may disclose PHI to public, private units to aid in disaster relief, to notify family or others involved in your care. You have to put in writing if you do not want someone to know something about your medical status, condition, or finances. You have that right, and you need to evaluate who you want to know about your medical conditions or financial state. All right, so from here you're going to read down from use and disclosure made without consent, approval, or objection to the very bottom. I'll give you some time to read that. And under your rights to inspect and copy your PHI, you may inspect, excuse me, and obtain a copy of your PHI contained in a record as long as we maintain it. A designated record set contains record your doctor and the practice used. Under federal law, you may not expect the following records: psychotherapy notes, data compiled in anticipation or use in a civil, criminal, or administrative procedures. Those are the only reasons you cannot look at your medical records or your medical records.
And after that, you can continue reading all the way down to the end, and just know that if you have to make a complaint about your NPP, each office should have a privacy officer, or you can file a complaint with the Secretary of Health and Human Services if you believe your rights have been violated and the office cannot retaliate against you for filing a complaint, which you would find here. And at the end, you either sign or initial. Now I'm going to stop this video here, and I'll start the next one for the application process.